Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're all going to be building our own castle. Is it going to be of stone, or wood, or Tudor, or a mix and match of all those crazy styles together? Today we're talking about Castles of Caladale from Renegade Game Studios. This is for 1 to 4 players. It is a light tile sort of drafting and placing game. It takes about 30 minutes to play. Today I'm going to teach you how to set up and play the game. This is called a rule school. I'm going to give you a quick 1-minute overview of how the game works, and then I'll teach you how to set up and play it so you do not have to read the rules. I'm going to show you how to play the base games plus some of the variants, the solo variant, the speed variant. So let's get started. Castles of Caladale is a tile drafting and placement game where you'll be drafting tiles from this board and you'll be building up this castle simultaneously and rearranging it throughout the game of 3 themes of the stone, the Tudor, and the wood. You'll be trying to put flags on the top. You'll also possibly be using wild cards to finish your castle so there's sky all around. You'll be deciding whether to place now, later, or at the end of the game just getting points. To set up, each player will take their gate tile of choice along with the scoring marker that matches the person on that gate. Now this is for 4 players and each tile will have 2 themes on it. For example, wood and stone. However, if you're playing with less than 4 players, you will remove the apprentice from the game, put it back in the box, and everyone there will flip over their gate tile so they're using a single themed side. There'll be 1 tile and 1 marker per player. If there's any additional ones, you can put them back in the box. Everyone will also receive a grass strip and a wild tile. They will take this wild tile and they'll put it off to the side to be used later, along with their scoring marker that they'll use at the end of the game. They will then place their gate tile, if you notice it has grass here, with the grass side touching grass, and you can actually place it anywhere because you can move this throughout the game. You'll gather all of the castle tiles, and if you're playing with a 2-player game, you'll remove all of the castle tiles that have the brown plus mark on it. So if you're playing 2-player, these would be completely removed from the game. All the tiles that are left at that point, you will shuffle together face down. You will then take those shuffled face down tiles and you will flip them face up into the 9 spots on the supply board. It will now look something like this. Then you'll place the rest of the face down tiles near the supply board in about 2 to 3 face down piles. This game has a standard way of playing it along with a speed and solo variant. I'll cover the variants at the end of this video. In the standard gameplay, on your turn you're going to do 2 things. The first thing you'll do is you must draw either 1 of the 9 face-up tiles or 1 from the random top stacks. So let's say I take this one. Then you have 2 options. You can either keep the tile face up in your castle, which means either attaching it now or keeping it off to the side for later. You do not have to attach anything now. Or you may want to flip the tile because it's not going to be able to go anywhere and put it off to the side. This will score you points at the end of the game. But for the most part, during most of the game, you'll be taking it and you'll either be adding it right away or keeping it face up here. So let's go over some of the placement rules. When placing tiles, you have to keep theme matching. So for example, we have stone matching stone. I couldn't, for example, say sky onto stone. Or I couldn't say the Tudor onto stone because the themes do not match. In this case, the themes match. Now you can place these in pretty much any orientation with a couple exceptions. One of those exceptions being this tile here, because it has the grass, the gate tile has to be up against the grass and has to be in this orientation. But the other ones you can do any way you like. I could even go something like this. Now the grass doesn't have to have 4 squares on there. You could leave it empty, but most of the time it will be full by the end of the game. Now, anything that goes outside of the grass, even though this looks like it's a match because it is, you cannot have something solid on the bottom outside of the grass area. You can, however, have an overhang that matches theme to theme as long as the sky is touching all of the bottom outside of the grass area. All tiles must be supported through the bottom edge of their tile with a few exceptions. These tiles here, you can hang them off. The 2-sided tiles can hang off to the side, and even the 1-edge tiles can hang off to the side, or they can also hang upside down. That's one of the exceptions of not having to be supported by the bottom of the tile. Now, an exception to always being supported by the bottom edge is when you create a bridge like this. This isn't supported down here, but you can do that if the tile to the left and the right are both supported down there, then that's okay. And the last exception to orientation is the ones that have the flag have to go straight up. So they're basically always going to be sort of on the top. Now once somebody has taken a tile, it's basically going to be the next person's turn, but before that it gets replaced by the stacks, and then that player can either, again, grab one of these or one of the top random ones. And you keep going clockwise like that. Now let's say I'm trying to complete my castle here and I'm kind of stuck. I can use my wild tile. This essentially is going to be a wild. This can attach to anything just like that. This continues until the final tile is drawn. Then everybody will complete finishing their castle, and if you want, you can use the 30-second timer at the end of the game to ensure everyone does that at the same time. Then you will flip this over, it will be a score track, and it will actually walk you through the steps to score. First, you'd get 2 points for every tile in your castle that's not a wild tile. I actually have a 5x5 grid here, which is 25 tiles, 26, 27, 28. This is a wild, so it does not count. So it's 28 times 2, so I have 56 points. I'd get 2 points for a completed castle, which means I have sky around the entire outside. It's completed just like this. There's no open spots anywhere. It's completed, so I will get 2 more points. I'll add 1 point for every flag on the top of the castle. So I have 1, 2, 3, so I'll get 3 more points. I'd get a point for each of the tiles that I decide to flip face down right when I originally took them. So that's 3 points here for 3 tiles. So I would go 1, 2, 3 there. You'd then subtract 2 points for any exposed edge, meaning let's say this tile was not here, this doesn't have sky, this is an exposed edge. You'd get minus 2 points for every exposed edge like that in your castle. I don't have any, but it would be minus 2 points for each of those. And then minus 1 point for every wild tile in there. So that's minus 1 there. So I would actually go down there. And that would be the final score. I would see if I won. If it's tied, a completed castle beats a non-completed castle. If they're both completed, a castle without a wild tile beats a castle with a wild tile. If you're still tied, share the victory. Now when setting up the speed variant, everything's the same except when you place the tiles on the board originally, you'll put a certain amount of tiles there depending on the amount of players shown here. You'll also, each player will get a stack of face down tiles in front of them depending on the amount of players as shown here. By the way, if you are playing the 2-player variant where even the brown plus tiles are used, then each player will get 32 cards face down instead of the numbers shown here. When you're ready to start, someone yells go. They'll take all the tiles that are in front of them, they can flip them over in front of them, and they start building as fast as they can the castle that they like. At some point, they might have a tile that they want to swap out. You can always swap out. You could take one tile and place one from your group back. You can do that as many times as you want, but you always have to place one and then take one so you always have the same amount of tiles throughout the game, and everyone's doing this as fast as possible. Also in this variant, when you're building your castle, there's not the option to place it face down and get a point at the end of the game. Every tile has to be placed face up, regardless of whether it's in your castle or not at the end of the game. By the way, when someone finishes it, they'll say they're finished. They will flip this timer over and everybody else has 30 seconds left to finish. This player must stop all work. They'll get 1 point at the end of the game for flipping this timer, and you do final scoring just as the standard game. When setting up the solo variant, you will take 1 grass strip, any one of the starter gate tiles. You can turn it on either side that you like, put all the rest of the starter gate tiles in the box. You'll also get 1 wild tile that you'll keep close by, put all the other wild tiles in the box. You'll set up the supply just like the base game, 9 face up and the rest of them face down. Now the game is played similar to the base game, meaning you'll select any one of these 9 face up. You cannot select one of the top random ones in this variant. So I will select this one, let's say. That first tile has to be placed next to your starting gate with the normal rules applying. Now with this game, you can no longer rotate or move around anything once it's placed. Placement is final. You also cannot take a tile and place it face down for a point at the end of the game. You must take face up tiles and you must place them face up when you get them. Now the one thing you can move in this is your grass strip. You can slide it, but the normal placement rules still apply. This continues until you can no longer place any one of the tiles that are left, or you decide to end the game and you score the game normally. You can also play a solo speed style game with or without timing yourself. You'd put 9 random tiles in the supply like that, and then you would take 25 random tiles for yourself. You'd place the rest of the tiles in the box. The game is played as normal. You cannot flip a tile and score 1 point for it. And anytime you exchange a tile for one that's here, you'll get -1 point, otherwise score it the same way. Well, I hope you enjoyed this overview. It allowed you to enjoy this game faster than you normally would be able to by diving right into the game and not having to read the rules. If you have any other further questions, go ahead and leave them as comments and we'll do the best to answer them.